Picture a retired bobsled champion trying to steer a sled using all their finely tuned instincts and physical memory. But instead of ice, they are scraping violently along a dry dirt track. Over the last decade, the infrastructure under our code has changed. Many of the technical rules of thumb developed for older systems no longer align with the capabilities of modern hardware. This chart compares the data limits of legacy constraints against modern standards. We can see the specific gap between the spinning disks of the past and the scale of modern solid-state drives and 100 gigabit per second networks. To bridge this gap, we are going to conduct a heuristic audit. We will trade those old assumptions for hands-on, concrete data in just one afternoon. Actively testing and updating these internal rules allows a technical leader to keep their high standards relevant. It prevents teams from building complex workarounds for hardware bottlenecks that are no longer there. Step 1 is the inventory. This is our digital heuristic audit worksheet. It uses 4 blank columns to structure our process: assumption, test, result, and updated constant. Your first task is to pinpoint and write down one deeply held technical rule you frequently enforce on your engineering teams. Focus on rules regarding API design, your thresholds for code maintainability, or what an external dependency costs. The primary screening criterion for this rule is its age. You want to select a guideline rooted in the technological constraints we dealt with 5 to 10 years ago. Putting this specific rule on paper isolates it. You strip away the ego, turning a vague fear of being outdated into a single, tangible target that you can test. Step 2 is designing a hyper-focused micro-experiment. We built this specifically to challenge the rule you just isolated. You need to attempt something you previously categorized as physically impossible, infeasible, or too expensive to run at scale. This logic model maps the old belief directly to a modern stress test. If your old belief involves a choked network bottleneck, the experiment on the right forces 10,000 rapid API calls through a 100 gigabit pipe to see if it breaks. To avoid scope creep, we have to draw a strict boundary. This must remain a disposable prototype, not a production-ready application. It gets exactly 1 afternoon. Keeping the scope this tight removes any room for procrastination. It forces an immediate, direct confrontation with modern technical realities. Step 3 is execution. We take the experiment design and move directly into a modern cloud environment. There is one absolute, non-negotiable rule for this phase: zero delegation. You, the leader, must write the code and execute the deployment yourself. Once you push past the initial friction of unfamiliarity, the feedback loop tightens. Code compiles and deployments succeed in seconds rather than minutes. It can be frustrating to fight with unfamiliar syntax or spend time reading basic documentation. You are going to feel like a beginner again. This hands-on struggle provides immediate sensory feedback. It forces your brain to recalibrate its internal gauge of what is difficult today versus what has become straightforward. Step 4 happens after the code runs. We look directly at the physical outcomes and the metrics generated by the prototype. This diagram brings back our heuristic audit worksheet. By measuring the latency, the financial cost, and the total implementation time, we populate the result column with hard data. With the metrics logged, we officially discard the old heuristic. We draw a line through the outdated belief and draft a newly modernized rule of thumb in the updated constant column, based purely on this fresh data. Take this updated constant back to your engineering teams. Show them the prototype, explain the gap in your previous knowledge, and outline how the new data changes the team's approach. Openly replacing an outdated assumption with tested facts shows your team that you value accuracy over authority. It provides a blueprint for the kind of engineering culture that stays current. Zooming out, completing this audit shifts your trajectory as a technical leader. Updating your heuristics does not mean discarding your experience. Your high standards, your architecture and taste, and your deep understanding of the business are exactly what make these new tools so valuable. A veteran engineer actively testing their assumptions is the most valuable person on a team. That stands in contrast to an experienced leader who stubbornly insists the new tools are wrong. Beyond the practical benefits, there is the simple thrill of building again. You are using current tools to create systems previously restricted by past bottlenecks. Find your assumption. Pick one impossible constraint this week, clear an afternoon on your calendar, get back on the ice, and prove yourself wrong.